finals is gonna be like a long time from now.
I kind of more feel like just talking. Yeah, I was gonna say talking over these games rather than and the commentary was kind of build up.
Right. Yeah. I think that'll probably happen naturally. Yeah. Splat Zones on the Reef. All right, so Random didn't completely RNG us this time.
And they're both playing 10. We never get to see 10. That's right now.
Yeah. So Kofor, I think, plays a lot of 10. And who's the one on the other side?
XE plays 10. Yeah.
It's XE. Okay. Yeah. So 2 10 mains make sense on the Reef here because there are plenty of ways that the 10 probably can be a nuisance, whether that be on bridge or through the zone. Yeah, we're back to like the I'm casting off of 240 quality on your stream.
Oh my God.
So no, that's not even your fault. I mean, it's probably also my fault too. It just kind of is what it is. So yeah, cool, good stuff.
I mean, I want to see how the Squiffer does, just because Dura's been trying to make Squiffer his thing recently. And one thing he does say is he always really likes Squiffer on this map. I think this is, in his opinion, one of the best Squiffer maps. He thinks it's really good here. Yeah. I mean, I say that while they're getting run over, though, because, I don't know, they have, like... Both these comps are pretty similarly shit. They're not, like, actually shit. They're just kind of, like, both not great.
I mean... The only reason you say that is because there's 10 umbrellas on either side, and you don't see that a lot, and you see an ink rush. That's the only reason that you're really saying that. I think that like ink rush can be valid. In this case, it's kind of being used the best it can be. The Reef, I feel like, isn't necessarily the best rush map in general. Here comes Kofor with a hammer that can't really do much of anything, because that hammer is kind of reliant. And I mean, anytime I see this a lot, by the way, is there's just times where people just dive into a bunch of ink and expect something to happen and then the enemy team surrounds them and collapses around them, and it's like, all right, well, you're just dead now.
Yeah.
So good heads up and awareness to not do that, but then again, they just got locked down. It was a little late to do anything. So Uprising going to take that game.
Yeah, I don't think I'm too surprised. I don't think the Revolt are a bad team, but I think Uprising are stronger. I think, again, Uprising people forgot about because they were having their kind of stride so long ago now. That people have just kind of let them forget that they exist, even though they were doing really well when they were playing and everyone was going crazy over them.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, Uprising has always been one of those teams that's been, like, pretty good, but they also only enter... Well, I think a large part of the reason people don't remember them, at least for the people in teams in North America, you don't remember them because you don't face them all of the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, especially with the way the North American ecosystem is right now, everyone just enters their own weekly tournaments or enters their own low-level tournaments. I feel like there's not a ton of, at the high and mid-level, there's not a ton of, like, overlap. At least not as much as there was. And that goes back to a point that we were kind of talking about earlier. But, yeah, like... Uprising has been a team that has been good for a long time. And you just don't hear them because they tend to stick to like mostly European stuff when that happens. As opposed to staying up until, playing the video game between the hours of 1 and 6 in the morning. By the way, like what I still don't understand why people enter some of the weeklies as they sit over in Europe. Like I get it. But, like, on a Wednesday night, really, from 1 in the morning to 6 in the morning, like, I don't get it.
I mean,
I don't think, like, I want to play Splatoon during that.
I mean, I've done that. Everyone's done. I feel like, I don't know, I guess you need to, be a real player to really understand the desire to waste all of your night, playing a tournament for a stupid time zone. Also, I just wanted to say very quickly, you said the thing about the brush tent thing, but I'm a tent player, and the person I do the pickups most with is a brush player, so I'm kind of hurt by that. Because I see a lot of brush tent.
No.
I think brush tents are really good.
Why are you calling it a bad composition?
It was. I didn't like heavy in that comp. I don't like heavy in that comp. If you have a heavy player, then sure, but I prefer a different thing to heavy. But I hate Hydra in this comp. I hate Hydra 10 so much.
I feel like heavy would make the most sense, or like ballpoint. A Splatling makes the most sense there because you have very little paint control outside of it.
Right? In my sense, Naut or Charger does. I'd rather have Naut and then just all hold forwards, or have a Charger trying to take make the value out of the distraction that you have on your team. Because that was a comp a while ago. That was a comp a while ago when Charger and Tent were both stronger. Was like junior Tent Brush Charger. That was a really big comp. Oh, no, it wasn't Junior, it was Explosher, but Explosher was crazy. I forgot about that.
So it was Explosher, not...
No, Explosher Charger, Tent, Brush was a massive comp that won like 5 area cups in a row. Back when Explosher was broken and Tent was broken, it was like one of the biggest comps. And Charger was broken. Yeah.
Alright then.
It was a very slow meta. Anyway.
About the game, Revolt might actually be able to come in and take the zones, and it looks like they're doing that pretty well. Kofor's able to bully the Hydra away, and XD goes down in zone. So nice recap there for Revolt, but they really have to get in strong lockout positions, and they're kind of not really right now. I can't tell if... I think Sky was on the grades there, yeah. So that's decent, but here comes the brush, and again, this is one of the things that the brush does very well, and you should know full well, is it just likes to get up in your face and skirmish. Maybe it'll get a trade, at the very least, it just wants to be a distraction here.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things Lulu's doing very well.
I think Uprising right now, it does just seem like... I mean, sorry, Revolt, it just kind of seems like they're getting a nice engagement, they get the nice win, but they just then kind of die for not much reason. Like, you know, I feel like this is a big problem around this sort of level of play, where people will just die for no reason. They, like, they don't get any value out of their death, you know what I mean? Because you can get value out of dying in this game. As crazy as that sounds, you can, and they just don't find any value in dying, then they just lose the zone, and it just kind of happens, rather than there being a reason for it, in my opinion, anyway. Like, a good enough reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. Like, obviously, if you're dying, I think it depends on how much of a squid advantage you have on the map and where that like kind of front line is being held. If that front line is being held such that the zones are completely in your control and you get trades, then you're fine with that, right? You're fine with stalling out the game for longer. So I think that's where you're talking about the whole value of dying thing. By the way, Uprising 2-0, so I find another match. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that I don't know if you saw in all of your 240p, but the brush right there, even if they died there, then they would have still found a ton of value with that death, because they that was like peak brush. The Charger was shooting at the brush for no reason. The Tent was like holding a shield in their own spawn at the brush for no reason, and then there was like 5 people shooting at the brush, and it's like, right there, even if that brush ends up dying, and then the brush gets baller, and then the brush pops baller, and then they stall all this time, and they didn't even take an engagement, and they lost the entire game because they couldn't get to zone because they were all looking at a brush in that spawn. That's like peak brush finding value without actually winning any 1v1s or any duels. The brush just found value by brushing. Like, and then even if after the baller it died, you would have found a ton of value in dying there because you actually went up and you took a chunk off the timer by existing. I mean, also the enemy team shouldn't have their Tent and Charger shooting the brush ever, but it happens.